Welcome everyone. I'm Zephy Davy and this is my channel on YouTube. And today I have the honor to have with me an astrologer and a great friend that I know for a few years, actually almost probably 10, something like that years, 15 years. But she's amazing. She's an amazing woman and she lives here in Greece, in Athens, which is very exciting for me because I'm finding people from America that live here in Greece, and that's a big connection. Her name is Ariel Goodman. She has written, welcome Ariel, but I want to continue talking about you.
Thank you, I'm humbled.
And she has written and she had discovered the most amazing astrological phenomenon, which is called the Venus star point. And I think you discovered that 2000, remind me the year?
2004.
2004. And it's been going on in the sky for thousands of years, but she can tell us the story about how she discovered it another day, because this is about what is happening new for 2024, this session that we're going to be doing, and for the end of this month, which is December 2023. But she has written the book. Can you show the book, please, if we can?
Oh yeah.
So
I don't know how it's going to look on my screen, but
can try it.
Maybe you can see
a little bit, make it a little bit more towards your right, a little bit towards your right hand. There
we go.
The Venus star point rising, and it explains a lot about the Venus, the goddess Venus. So it's an amazing book. And she will be coming on, and one day we'll talk about it, one of my videos. But I just have the honor to have her here with me, and she knows how much I care and I love you very much, you know that. And she's just a good friend and again, colleague. And welcome, Ariel. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you very much. I am very glad to be with you here in Greece, and also to be working with you now, collaborating on different projects that we have in mind. It's exciting to work with you. The only little thing I'll say about the Venus is that when I received the information on Venus in 2004, the subtitle was A New Cosmology for the 21st Century. And I thought, oh, that's curious, but I didn't question it. I just thought, well, okay, that's okay. And what I realized about the 21st century, because I received this in 2004, very early into the new century. And what I realized about it was that because it's information from Venus that concerns moving into the heart center, that it is a very important message for all of us for the 21st century, because we're so lost in information, and every day the mind, the brain, it's being overloaded, overworked, and it's causing people to kind of lose it, where we have our brain so stuffed with material, that by the end of our lives, we don't have a brain anymore, to a conscious way of really being able to communicate, and which is sad. So it's about making decisions from the heart rather than the mind. And it's about leading with the heart in everything we do. So that's just a little snippet. And the rest is, I think, obvious.
It is. And also it's such an ancient, the five-pointed star is such an ancient tradition that existed thousands of years. And download came to you. It was just an incredible, it was the time for that to show up in your life, and
that's what was exciting. That was the other thing, was to find out that Venus really makes a pattern of a five-pointed star, and she's the only one that does. Okay. And that we've had this five-pointed star image for a very long time in, all kinds of religions and philosophies and, spiritual teachings. And, the five-pointed star has, the pentagram is a very powerful mechanism for magic. It was used, it was used for magic, because Venus is also about manifestation and, bringing things to you. It has been turned into darkness also by, some religions who, think of it as, something dark. But it's only the only darkness about Venus is the fear of love, and it does represent the feminine and the empowerment of the feminine. And so if you're afraid of that, and if you think that's dark, well, then you're not in the Venus religion. You're somewhere else. That's how I
Well,
feel.
also for me, because I go to Egypt a lot, and I know you've been there, you see the five-pointed
Yeah,
star all over the walls, and specifically
right.
of the temples and things like that. But I have something to admit. Few years ago, when I was still in Sedona, this group of women got together and we decided to create a five-pointed star. We had no idea about your book. We had no idea because we didn't connect it astrologically. And we created this five-pointed star for us to manifest things in our lives. And we sat and drawed it and, put things that we want to manifest. And I just found it the other day and look at it. I'm not joking. You see that?
Wow.
You see that?
That's it.
That's it.
That is it.
And we
So
put,
you were surrounding yourself with Venus.
yeah, even before I knew about your book, even before, with this group of women, we just got it intuitively to sit there and do it. And then I met you, and now the whole thing is getting explained in my life, So
Yeah.
Venus is
Well,
very
I think
strong.
I think a lot of ancient cultures, even, okay, before Greece, Greece is named Aphrodite here, or Aphrodite, the way we say it in English. It was Venus, and the Romans made it into Venus,
Mhm.
which is also the planet. But before that, she was Ishtar and Inanna, and she has a long history going back. Isis, the three eyes. I say Ishtar, Inanna, and Isis, the three eyes.
The three eyes.
But she is basically the planet Venus in the sky represents them all. Like Venus in the sky was looked at in all of these cultures. You might even go so far as to say she was worshipped because there she was and they tracked her. We have a lot more information actually on the ancient planet Venus than any other planet
Wow.
because the ancient sky watchers were fascinated by her brightness, the way she rose to the height, and then the way she fell again and disappeared from view for a while. And then she would disappear in the morning, and then pretty soon, some days later, a couple of months later, she'd come back in the night sky and appear again, and then she'd disappear and come back in the morning. So, she has a beautiful orbit, a very symmetrical cycle, which creates that five-pointed star. And I try to bring people when we do workshops on it, I try to bring people like what you did to create actual things like that where you are surrounded by the star, the loving presence of Venus, and you're connecting to your heart and you're seeing all 5 points of your star in your chart and how it works in your life. And it just, it's a beautiful presence to be working with, I must say,
It is. And also, for us women to be, and men, of course, to be connected with this ancient tradition, and you brought it into life in a new way. But we're gonna talk about that in another video because we have so
Right,
much to say about the Venus star point and so much
right.
about people. But this time I should have done maybe that interview first and then do what's for the year. But it's okay. We go what spirit tells us to do. Correct? It's just part of
Right,
whatever intuitive.
right,
I did something a few years ago that I had no idea about the book. And in the Vedic astrology, we don't talk about the Venus star point. So, that's more of a
right.
traditional Western astrology. But so I want you knowledge. I want you knowledge for the next 2 weeks we have left, or 2.5 weeks we have left of this
Hmm.
is, interesting 2023, December 2023, because it's been a really I feel that it's been a very difficult year, but as I said in my last video, I feel like we all making it through, even if we had to cry, scream, yell, fight, whatever we had to do this year. I think most of us have made it through, and we're going to continue making it through to the end of the year because there's still a little bit of struggle. But I want you to put your knowledge in it and tell us what you feel, what you think that is going to happen in the next 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. There's so many things I could say about going into 2024. I'm both excited and a little bit cautious and nervous about what it will bring, because I think it has the potential to go both ways, and it probably will go both ways. As we are recording this today, it's the 13th of December, and we just had a new moon in Sagittarius. So new moons happen every month, as we know, and that's another symbol of the feminine, the new moon, because it is the moon joining the sun. The Venus star point is really when Venus joins the sun. It's the cazimi of Venus with the sun. The new moon is also a cazimi with the sun, but it's the moon with the sun. So we can't see the moon when it's right with the sun like that, because the sun's rays block it out. So though we can't feel it, we can't see it, we can feel it. And generally speaking, good times of the month for manifestation from one month to the next, there's 12 months in a year, and there's usually 13 lunations in a year. 13 is a number also of the goddess, and it is also a number very strongly associated with the Venus cycle. And that's, again, info for another day, but it's all written in my book too. But the fact is that we're new moons are like, oh, exciting, because we always are excited when we can start something new, right? We're like, ooh, now what? Something new, because, oh, I'm ready for that to end. Because what is at the end of every year, everybody says, oh, I'm glad to say goodbye to that year, and they're going to do Happy New Year. I'm so glad to be moving forward into the new year. But they say it every year. So but the newness is exciting. And so we want to like shoot for the stars, because Sagittarius is symbolized by the centaur with the bow and the arrow shooting to the stars. And it's right, the archer Sagittarius is situated right there, right on or near, very, very close to the galactic center. And this new moon is 20 degrees Sagittarius. The galactic center is 26 degrees Sagittarius. So within 24 hours of the moon will be, passing right over it. So what I would say to that is think big, shoot for the stars. We also have a square to Neptune happening with this new moon. And so we may not know exactly how everything's all going to come out. We may be feeling a bit confusion. We may be dreaming something really, really big, and may have to realize as we go into 2024 that the dream can still happen, but it needs to be scaled down a little. That we can't maybe go as huge as we thought it could be, but take it step by step. So that's an important component too. So I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm sure you feel the same, right? That new moons are bright new beginnings.
Yes, they are. And also I feel that manifestation that you're talking, that we need to think of something really big. And even if we have to tone it down as the year comes at 2024, we're still going to reach that goal. That's what I feel, because we kind of done the work. That's what I mean. We've been through a really, difficult times, and we're surviving it. So it's okay to think big. I think it's the best thing to think big like that. And of course,
it's going to
today. So
yeah, because when we go into 2024, the thing about thinking big is Jupiter, which is Sagittarius, is, that's why I was saying, this new moon is about thinking big. And Saturn is about coming down to earth, trimming expectations, staying within a budget, doing things that are necessary. You know, it's dieting after the excesses of the new year, because Capricorn comes in right around Christmas, right around the solstice and Christmas, and we're party, party, party. But then we go into January and it's like, okay, diet, diet, diet. So, you know, that's the metaphor. Not everybody does that, but the metaphor is that in Sagittarius time, we're buying, we're spending, we're buying gifts for people, we're celebrating, we're eating a lot of sweets, we may be drinking more than we normally do, we're socializing, and that's all good because it's nice to celebrate with friends, family, whatever. But then comes the reality that follows it, Capricorn, which is, okay, now I have to diet. Now the credit card bills are coming in. Now, you know, I have to, you know, face reality. But the good news, I think, as we start 2024, especially, is that Jupiter and Saturn, which represent those two signs, are actually in a very cooperative relationship.
Yeah.
Jupiter starts the year in early Taurus, having just gone direct, and are, yeah, really close to being direct, and the Saturn's in early Pisces, having just gone direct. So the two are in what we call a sextile relationship, that's 60 degrees apart, that they will actually be not exactly the 60 degrees, because Jupiter won't, you know, Jupiter moves faster than Saturn, so they're not going to be exactly sextile, but they will be by sign and within orb. So what I'm saying is that there's a cooperation. Jupiter says, expand, shoot for the stars. Saturn says, you know, be realistic, practical, budget, etc. But I won't say they cancel each other out, but they do neutralize the excesses of each other,
Yeah.
so that they bring the two into balance more. And they say, and they sit down at the table and they discuss, okay, this is what I want, this is what you want. No, you can't have this, but you can have that. Okay, you know, I want 10,000 for that project. Well, sorry, can't give you 10,000, but I can give you 5,000. You know, it's sort of like, well,
Negotiation and
we will
balance.
work it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because I always felt, you know, that happens between Jupiter and Saturn when they do that. That's like one gives you and expands you, and then the other one just kind of holds you back in a good way, because then it rewards you. Saturn will reward you if you focus on the good things. It's not that it's going to take everything away. So because a lot of people are afraid of Saturn also, you know, they're like, oh, Jupiter is great. But a lot of people are afraid of Saturn. And I want to say we should not be afraid of Saturn. I think Saturn gives it to us, but we have to put a lot of hard work in there. You know, we have to do it with knowledge and sincerity and really understanding of what's going on around us, instead of being totally excessive, you know, because Zeus had everything in excess. That's why Jupiter gives it in excess, and Kronos didn't, you know. So going back to ancient mythology, the Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what do you feel about the next, you know, what do you feel about Mercury retrograding, as we're doing the video today, actually?
So that was the other piece. We feel expansive. It's a new moon. We're excited. We want to get going on things. However, Mercury is just now turning retrograde. Now, I don't think people should be afraid of Mercury retrograde. They should not be afraid to do things, because life goes on. And if you take into account all the times of the year that Mercury actually does go retrograde, and then the week or two before each retrograde and the week or two after each retrograde, where it's kind of catching up with itself, and what I mean, some astrologers call it a shadow period, but it's not really a shadow, but it's when it passes that zone, it goes into new territory. So in other words, right now, until into January, it's going back over where it's already been before. So we're reviewing. we're
Reviewing and
revisiting,
finishing things,
we're reconnecting.
but
And
not-
holiday time, the end of the year is a good time to reconnect. If you can't get there physically, you send a card or you send an email or you send a greeting somehow. My theme for this solstice period, which is coming up, is friends, is to reach out to our friends all over the world because we are really so enriched by our friendships and our community circles. Um, Mercury retrograde is also kind of the troublesome part is the first week and a half of the retrograde.
Mhm.
And then after about the 22nd, it makes its cazimi with the sun.
Mm.
And then it's going back out again. So it's like it's going into the deepest part of the retrograde and then it's going to cycle back out again. So as we come out of it after the 22nd, 23rd, but Mercury is the messenger god. Mercury rules travel and mail and communications and delivery of packages. And so and things like computers and printers, anything that sends out communication or messages, because he's the messenger god. And so while all Mercury retrogrades can have a level of frustration, I think around the holiday time, right before the holidays, when people are mailing and sending and delivering packages all over the place, it's particularly problematic. So the main time, don't be pressured by deadlines. Try not to be pressured by deadlines because when Mercury's retrograde, I say it's the world is in a collective place of spaciness. And I think of the retrogrades, especially Venus retrograde, which I've worked with a lot, as a time when she's pretty much saying, don't bother me now. I'm doing my own thing. I'm taking off. So Mercury's saying, don't bother me now. Well, don't bother me. You're the one who delivers all the things, all the little goodies and all the kids' stockings around the world. So what are you saying? Don't bother me, but anyway, and I think in our previous Mercury retrogrades this year, we saw a lot of unions go on strike. People just stopped working. So a lot of times, Mercury retrograde does go with the stoppage of work because it's sort of like give the mind a rest.
Yeah.
Don't be, trying to feverishly create content all the time and put things out there and it's a good time to go back if you're working on a creative project, then let it sit for a while and breathe and then come back to it. I'm a writer, so I like this time to, go back and edit or, let it sit, come back to it, come back to it later. But I think it's a good time to just pause and reflect. It's like put the pause button on many of your activities of the day and keep things more simple.
And I think also it teaches us not to, that we cannot control everything. We don't have everything, in our, like we need to reach a goal, but we need to reach it by say the 14th of this month or whatever, the 20th. It shows us to kind of sit back and just visit everything and see, instead of like rushing like Mars, you just sit and let go of control and trust of what's
Right,
happening, and everything's gonna be okay, afterwards.
right, exactly. Yeah, so that's what we have for the rest of the year. And then, of course, a very big thing, we have the solstice on the 21st of the month, the winter solstice in the north. It's the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. And that's a beautiful time of year. The religious, the connotations of Christmas with happening so close to the solstice, it's the metaphor because the solstice in the north is literally in the northern hemisphere is literally marks the return of the sun, S-U-N, the sun in the sky,
Mhm.
to the north, because it's now finally gone as far south as it can go, and it's going to slowly start heading back up. We won't see the results of that until spring, when it actually really gets over the horizon and comes into the north full bore. But it's turning around, and so Christmas has that metaphor too, with the risen, with Christ, the return of the sun, the birth of Christ, not the rising. And in fact, he's born at the winter solstice in terms of the religious story, and then he's rising at the spring equinox, where it's like, spring and Easter. So it has a lot to do with actually what's happening in the sky, the sun, the four seasons, the solstice points. So it's a turning of the direction. It's the beginning of official winter in the north, summer in the south. It's a change of season. It's a change of direction for a lot of people. And Mercury reaches its cazimi with the sun right at that time. So it is a powerful time. I think anybody who's open to getting ideas, inspiration, downloads, whatever, and information that things they couldn't quite figure out, but suddenly now you're going to have a burst of energy there to say, oh, okay, I think I just got the solution. I may have even just dreamed of the solution. So Mercury retrograde is also a good time for dreams and dreaming. I notice my dreams always increase during Mercury retrograde. And, it's sort of like, the theme going into January 1st, which is again an arbitrary new year. It's not really, it's a calendar new year. It has nothing to do with the sky. But the new year is that Mercury will go direct on the night of January 1st.
Oh, it's
so
first. Oh,
yeah. So we go into New Year with it still kind of, it's not really moving backwards. It's what we call standing still or stationary. It's not moving quite yet. So that could be a metaphor for 2024. Things are ready to happen, like the train is at the station, but it's not moving yet. You're sitting there waiting for it to go. And it's going to go soon, but you're still kind of waiting. We go into the new year with that. We also go into the new year with Venus and Saturn in a square, which is another kind of way I would summarize it is you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need, type of thing. Thank you, Rolling Stones, for that. But it's again a little bit more of the sobering effect. Oh, I have to pay the bills now on all the parties all the things I did, over the holidays. Or I have to get back to work now after all this leisure time. Or I realize now I feel a little more pressured to get things done because I haven't been paying attention while this Mercury was retrograding, while the holidays were happening. So I think we enter the new year with a sort of get to it business, back to business, back to what we need to do. But remember also to stay in the heart and to not feel like you're pushing. Just go, let things flow. Mercury isn't really moving in its correct speed, or it's normal, let's say. It's not correct, but it's normal fast-paced speed until we get to about the 10th of January. So the first week or two is still regrouping. Things are moving forward, but I think by mid-month we'll see things really kind of taking off.
So if we have to put like the next 6 months after January 1st, how you see them, from January?
Well, maybe in our next video, we'll talk about that. I think the real new year, a lot of the new year comes more in the spring. And so we'll talk about the aspects for that. But like the Chinese New Year is a really important one because it's not just celebrated in China, it's celebrated all over Asia, but we call it the Chinese New Year here. It's always happened the new moon on it's a lunar cycle also, the new moon in Aquarius.
Yeah.
So that will happen for us in February. And we will have the spring equinox in March. So, we have moving into the year more, kind of a picture of, I think the spring is going to be very exciting because we're going to have Jupiter and Uranus coming together closer and closer. So we're going to have a big, kind of a smaller version of the Big Bang.
That says a lot right there.
On the micro scale. A small version of the Big Bang.
I like that. I asked for it, because yeah, I do feel that actually it's going to be a very interesting year and a very, we can say that for every year lately, but I think it's also going to be a year of really, I don't know if I want to say, kind of licking our wounds and really taking care of ourselves and going into really healing ourselves. That's how I see the next year,
Yeah.
And I feel it's going to be a positive year, but we do have to lick our wounds. We have to take care of ourselves the next year because we forget that through the day, the daily activities that we do. We do forget
self-care. Self-care is really, really, really important. Yeah. 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 And in fact, many of the clients I've been working with lately and talking with who are dealing with some sort of illness or another are suffering really. When I look at their chart and I start talking to them and go deeply, it's like, well, you've never relaxed. You've never known how to slow down. You've never known how to stop doing things for people. You've never known how to say no. And now suddenly your body is saying, I need time for me, and so there can be, just like your car engine or anything, if you work it too hard and you don't service it and let it rest, it's not going to just keep going and going for you. You have to give it self-care. We don't give ourselves enough self-care. And I don't mean that in a narcissistic way. I think there's a lot of people today that are kind of, we're in a narcissistic society, let's say that. And there's reasons for that I can actually attribute to the astrological picture of some of where the bigger planets have been lately and the Venus star points. But I will say that for ourselves, for those of us who are givers and who want to be of service to others, we have to remind ourselves that if we're not in good shape, we can't give anything to anybody else. So it's a message for self-care and also really always balance. Here in Greece, in Delphi, especially at the Oracle, the major message was nothing in excess.
Exactly.
Everything in balance, like not too much of this, but if you do too much of this, come back this way. So if you're serving everyone else, it's time for you to serve yourself or to be receiving. And that's the most important principle on the Venus star. I want to conclude what I have to say with coming back to that. The other reason I love it so much is it's perfectly balanced. It has, the main star is our head heart center connection going down the central spine and then covering the chakras. And then we have the other 4 points are the 2 hands and the 2 feet. And so you can see by looking at the star whether somebody is leaning too much to the left or leaning too much to the right, or leaning too much up here to the stars and not enough to the earth, or too much down here on the earth and not enough up here. So it all has to do with balance and the way the Venus star goes around, it gives us a chance every time it changes to balance another part of our particular body.
You're right. And also, you know, I want to make a note of we got to stop feeling guilty because, you know, I think next year is also going to be about don't feel guilty for what do you want to give to yourself. I think that's a big thing. People feel very guilty when they give and give and give. I mean, when they give and give and give, and then they start giving to themselves, they feel guilty of giving to themselves.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
know.
I had to get the train of my thought because they feel so guilty. That's why they can't sit back. They're like, well, but we're supposed to help others. We're supposed to do that, but we feel guilty when we don't do it. And I think this year is also going to show us how not to feel guilty and really take care of ourselves because
Yeah,
we have to.
yeah. I think that's Saturn and Pisces too.
Oh,
You
you're right.
know,
Saturday.
we're programmed to be workhorses.
Yeah. That's good. I wanted to make sure that it connects to, yeah, there you go. I didn't even ask you and you brought it up. I like it.
Yeah, no, but Saturn and Pisces is that guilt. Well, I haven't done enough.
Yeah,
Oh, I could be doing more,
yeah, you're right.
you know.
So that's
Okay.
a message, you know, we can just say a message to the people that are watching us out there. Let go of guilt this year coming into the next. Take care of yourself, understanding that we do have the star point, the Venus star point in our bodies, and you know how we can just get balance everything in our lives. And me and Ariel will get back into the Venus star point and we'll talk about it and we'll clarify that for you guys. But
Yeah,
yeah, because it's a lot.
yeah.
You know, we cannot do it in one.
And get out of the mind and into the heart. In
Get
other
out.
words,
Yeah,
don't worry, be happy.
exactly. Ariel's website and email will be underneath in the video if you want to reach her for sessions. And also her book will be linked underneath also. But I know you booked and then the sessions will start after in January, correct? Like after first, second week of January, you open to like do some sessions or later when
No, I think the calendar, I forget now, it's online, but the second week in January, I believe, is when I start up again. I kind of don't waiting for Mercury, not necessarily waiting for Mercury to straighten himself out, but it just works out that way for me. It just happens to work out that way for my schedule, and then Mercury's supporting it.
yeah, of course, market, you know, if you're an astrologer, you got to go with what's happening in the stars. If you're a healer, you got to go what's happening in the energy. You know, I think that's so important. And sometimes we do it so intuitively that we forget to put the two together. But once we put the
Yeah,
two together, it's a total blessing. Once we get it, that everything
right.
works together, the stars, our lives, everything works
Yeah.
together. So anyway,
Right,
Ariel,
right.
thank you.
Thank you so much,
It was
Steffi, for
amazing.
having me today.
Yes, I hope you enjoyed it, and I know you're
I
gonna.
loved it. And I love your perspective too, and all the energy you bring to the world. It really, I feel uplifted in your presence.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So everyone, thank you so much. I'll talk to you before on the holidays. So start enjoying yourself now and take care of yourself and, you know, slow down a little bit. You don't have to rush and take care of everything and everyone. Only think of yourself first. So namaste. Thank you.
Namaste.